Do you ever ask yourself, am I playing too small? Have I left it too late to start afresh? Will I come to the end of my life and feel that I somehow let myself down? This is your invitation to hear from some amazing people who have asked themselves those very same questions and chose to wake the F up, to get off the hamster wheel of mediocrity and seize the life that was calling them. Be inspired and be challenged to discover who you have the potential to become and the contribution you're here to make. And now, here to guide you on the most important quest of your life is your host, Janet Hogan.
Have you ever experienced a time in your life where externally everything looks pretty good? Your life ticks all the boxes, you have the nice house, the family, all the toys, and yet it feels like there's something missing. And you ask yourself, what do I do with this feeling of emptiness? And then you may also ask yourself, and who am I to complain when there are so many people in the world struggling to feed their kids? In short, why am I such an ungrateful prat? Well, what if instead of trying to bury those uncomfortable feelings under a mountain of work, you could do something about it? And I'm not talking about booking yourself into a therapist down the road, but where you could find a solution to everything to do with your personal development or mental health, from how to fill that inner void to having that difficult conversation you don't want to have with a work colleague, all with just a few strokes of your keyboard. Inner Professional is the online forum every growth-minded business owner and professional has been looking for, a veritable lolly shop of programs delivering deep transformation in the comfort of your own home office. It's the brainchild of someone who has a passion for seeing individuals reach their potential so they can make their personal dent in the world. And to tell us all about it, it gives me great pleasure to welcome co-founder and CEO Curt Dowdy. Curt, welcome to Wake the F Up.
Thank you, Janet. Thanks for having me here.
Good. Let's go straight to the chase of this. What's the biggest problem you see facing corporate America right now? And how are you doing your bit to solve it?
You know, I think COVID and other forms of uncertainty that keep being thrown our way have put people into a place where everything that they know functionally is being challenged, and they have to find a way to navigate through these uncertain waters. So a lot of new things are being thrown at them. And when we just rely on our functional knowledge that we got from school or we got from work, the kind of technical skills that we developed, when these uncertain times pop up, we sometimes lack the ability, the core human ability, to deal with the things that are being thrown our way. And so the kinds of things that pop up are, we hear lots about mental health and awareness around mental health these days. We're experiencing a mass exodus from the workplace as people have decided that they like working from home, or they want to relocate to a different place and maybe find a different company, find something with more purpose. And so to me, what it speaks to is like finding the core purpose and the core skill set of that are what some people call soft skills. And I like to call them humanistic skills, because I don't think the skills of self-awareness, the skills of interpersonal communications, of relationships, emotional intelligence, I don't think that those are the easy skills to learn. So I would prefer to call them humanistic skills. And so that's one of the things that's part of our mission, is to impart more of those kinds of skills.
Thank you. And I can see that that's so needed. You mentioned the word purpose in there, and I think purpose is so important, but it's a word that's almost been commoditized, a bit like freedom. These words which mean so much start to lose their meaning. In the work career context, how would you define achieving a sense of purpose, Curt?
Yeah, I think we all, for many years in my professional career, I struggled to really figure out if I had a purpose. And I think that's one thing that led me, I was with a big multinational, one of the largest computer companies in the world. And I had been there for 20 years. And, it led me to question, these products that I'm in charge of, these things that we're putting out, is this really fulfilling me? It did for a while, but I found that as I engaged in more personal exploration, that what I needed as purpose was something that felt more like making a contribution to the world, making a
Mm.
contribution to make the world a better place.
And thank you for that. And when you say making a contribution, is it like, volunteering, giving of yourself in that way, or what kind of contribution are you talking about?
Yeah, I think it was more of, I had many years of experience and education, and wanting to apply that towards something different, and something that I guess the thing that called out to me was things that represented making the world a better place. One, I cared a lot about the environment. And so for a while, I was into environmental activism. And then after experiencing the political headwind against a lot of the environmental movement, it came down to, let's understand why people are pushing back. And so that led me into a place of wanting to know more about the human experience, and what makes us tick, and what makes us more open to doing things that would actually be better for our own wellness and well-being.
Mm. So you really went from addressing the superficial symptom to the root cause, correct?
I like to think that. We'll see. It's still an experiment underway.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a common journey, because the symptom is the most visible, isn't it? It's what exists in the physical realm. Then we go, the earth's on fire, literally. But what's creating that combustion? What's creating the inferno? And there's no point pointing a garden hose at something that's a much bigger problem. Is there? So the other thing, it's interesting how COVID has really accelerated what you're talking about. This desire to do the inner work, and your business name, Inner Professional, speaks to that. What about people who say that, to really get to the root cause of a problem, and let's say addressing that on an individual level, getting to what makes us tick personally? For a long time, people were saying deep transformation could only happen working one-on-one with a therapist in their room. And with COVID, that really hasn't been possible. So what have you seen during COVID in terms of a total change in how we do this transformational work?
Yeah, I think there's an element of just COVID itself, or just call it nature, will present us with challenges, and we have to learn how to deal with those challenges, right? And so that's bringing up visibility for a lot of the issues that I was speaking about earlier. And then the mission that we're on is to provide transformational training, right? And so we have courses on, we have one called Coach Yourself Up, and it's really a course about how do you become your own coach. How it revolves around self-awareness. How do I manage my attention? In noticing where my attention is focused in any particular moment, and not necessarily judging it, but kind of taking away the aha moments of, if I just shifted my attention a little bit, and it might be something like, I'm having a thought, this thought pattern is going on. It's a story that I'm telling myself, and that story may not actually be true. It just may be a story that I'm making up because I don't have any other information. And so if I ask myself, do I know this to be true? Then I might divert my attention in some other way. So let's just play an example. And let's say, and this, I'm just making this up. This didn't actually happen. But let's say I sent Janet an email and I didn't get a response. And I send another email, I don't get a response. And so I'm starting to think, gee, is Janet mad at me? Does Janet not want to work with me? So I can start drawing inferences that might actually be based on some subliminal belief that I have, that if I'm more aware of that, then I won't project that kind of stuff into the situation. And when we project into the situation, it also leads us to behave in certain ways that might actually aggravate the situation.
Yeah,
So these are just examples of kinds of things that we're trying to impart upon people.
It's so important and so easy to get caught up in the drama of it all. One of the things I remember as a 6-time business owner myself was just how frenetic my days were, and that I was very good at filling my time with stuff to do, you know, as you do. There were always fires to put out. How successful or how difficult have you found it, Curt, to get, you know, time poor CEOs to actually devote this time to themselves if there are so many ready and seemingly important excuses for them not to do the work? How do you get around that?
Yeah, I think first of all, you have to come to a realization that if you're not doing this kind of work, you're being inefficient. And so another one of our courses is titled Resonate. And it's really about executive presence. And how do you resonate? How do you recognize when resonance is happening? You know, you resonate with an idea, you resonate with another person, you resonate with a project, a mission, whatever. And she talks of the instructor in that course talks about effortless effort. That as you start gaining some of these skills, it becomes less effortful. And I mean, we're always going to be facing challenges. Challenges are always going to come our way, but it's how we choose to deal with those challenges and what kind of skills we employ in dealing with them that will determine how much resilience we have, how much stress we experience around it. So those are the kinds of things that we're trying to get across.
Exactly. And the other thing too, I think, you know, that expression lonely at the top really plays true. I remember one of the things I hated as a business owner was managing teams. I was very bad at it. So what would you say to a business owner or CEO who's, you know, sitting in that office all alone going, I wish someone would extract all the people from this business and then everything would be fine. What do you say to someone like that?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, managing people, you're playing pretty well into our course catalog here, Janet.
This is unintentional, right? I'm just remembering the issues that I had as a very unaware, emotionally unintelligent boss.
Yeah, we do. We have we have courses on these topics. One's called Leading a Coaching Culture, and also our Resonate course talks about. You know, what we have to find is that place when we're managing a team. We have to find the place where we're all mutually in alignment, and we can be out of alignment a lot of the time, but there's got to be some core elements where we are in alignment. And so it's not just about like the task of the moment or the frustration of the moment. I think we need to step back and take a bigger picture of what motivates that individual. Why are they here? Why did they join us? And what are they hoping to get out of this experience? And what am I hoping to get out of this experience? And then based on those kinds of that kind of knowledge, then we can have a conversation, and we can enter into difficult conversations where I know your objective is this, and my objective is this, and we're seem to be aligned in these places, but here's where I feel like we need to come into more alignment. And is this possible? And if we can do it in a non-judgmental way, I think that's part of what happens is judgment gets in the way of our communication sometimes. And so if we can be direct and specific and non-punishing with a lot of judgment, then I think we probably get better traction with our teams. But then we also, I think sometimes we have to just be realistic that humans are human. We have to give them permission to be human. And so the only thing that I can do is I can develop my skills, and I can try to communicate to the best of my ability.
Yeah, it really does start at the top, doesn't it? Because I know there's a lot of self-judgment too in that business owner space, and also potentially one of the things, and I'm probably very much a product of the 80s and 90s, the emphasis was definitely not on the inner world, but the external world. And I remember a business coach saying to me once, Curt, Janet, what do you want? And I looked at him and then looked at my blank piece of paper, and I just felt like breaking down because I had no idea what I really wanted from life. And my mind went straight away to all the toys. I guess I could have more, a bigger car, bigger house, more in the bank, all of that kind of thing. And I think that we get misaligned with our own values. And then when that's the case, when we're so off course, how on earth can we potentially guide others with any form of wisdom or, consciousness, awareness? So that's one of the reasons I created this, having sat in that seat of the business owner, I created this tool called the Magic Triangle. And for anyone who's new to this show, with every interview, I always invite the guests to do this quiz with two aims: to get more clarity around, what it is that personally we want, and also to demonstrate actually how simple it is to figure ourselves out. It doesn't have to necessarily involve, months and months of deep, difficult, painful introspection. So in this quiz, what came up for you, Curt, the idea behind this is to isolate the 3 core needs. So this is moving from the mental space where we go for what we think we want to more the intuitive space where we go for what we feel we need. So you can see the difference there. And so we're talking more about abstract notions rather than, physical goals. And so what came up for you, Curt, were 3 things: family, prosperity, and wellness. So to interpret this, to do a reading on this triangle, what I'd like you to share with me, Curt, is what each of those means to you. Why did they make it as the top 3? So let's start with family, because any of these words you could interpret 100 different ways. So what does family mean to you, Curt?
Yeah, so I took some liberty in, among the word choices to project my meaning upon them. So thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. For me, family means more extended family. So for one thing, my girlfriend and life partner passed away 3 years ago, and so I'm single and I don't have any children. And I do have my family of origin, which I am somewhat close to. But I think about extended family in terms of people that I would invite in to be family. So close friends, the people that I have the closest relationships with. And I aspire to have a life partner again as well. So that's, I think at this juncture, pretty high on my list right now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Now let's speak to prosperity. Again, I think prosperity is a really interesting concept that's often misunderstood. What's your take on it, Curt?
Yeah, I struggled with this. And one thing that when I noticed the list of words that was available, one of the first ones I would have chosen was purpose. and that wasn't available. And I can see now that your paradigm is around finding purpose out of these other choices. So for me, I think prosperity with purpose. So, and I think of, there's a Buddhist mantra, may my practice benefit all beings. And so for me, that is the first part of it, that may I do something that's beneficial to all beings and humanity specifically. But I also aspire to be prosperous in making a contribution to the world. So I think, doing well by doing good is part of my definition of prosperity.
Yeah.
And so, in the US now we have the so-called B corporation, beneficial corporation. And so one of the things that we aspire to is to become a beneficial corporation.
Yeah, I totally see that with the work that you're doing. Yeah. Thank you for that. And then the final one, so the one that made it to the top of the triangle, a bit like the star on the Christmas tree, wellness. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so, for me, vitality and wellness and well-being are important. So I want to be healthy, and so I tend to try to live a pretty healthy lifestyle, and eat right, get plenty of exercise, get plenty of good sleep, balance my time during the day, make sure that I'm allowing time for myself to recharge and to be grounded and not kind of go flying off into storyland. And so and I want to be vital,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Excellent. And one of the reasons these are powerful, apart from the fact that you've chosen them, they haven't been thrown at you, but these needs most often speak to something that we've been missing out on, something that we've lacked. So the pain of lack defines the need. And that's why I trust these actually as pointers in terms of our truly aligned life direction, because we know the pain of not having them. And that's why I think they really speak to us. So the triangle works on two levels. The goal with the triangle is to satisfy these needs from an inner perspective first. So they speak to the inner self. And what's interesting, what I discovered was that in an uncanny fashion, the two needs at the base of the triangle are what you need to fulfill the need at the top. So you could even describe this as a really simple personal mission statement. So say your vision is wellness. So that's like your highest value, the most important thing to you at this moment in time. But the way to get that, the mission, is through family and prosperity. So in other words, if you were to turn that into a mission statement, through family and prosperity, I achieve wellness. Does that make sense to you, Curt?
Yeah. I think that's nice. It's very insightful. I appreciate it, Janet.
Yeah, no, that's my pleasure. And the other thing I realized too, that when we bring these needs into our life so that they actually become values and they become what you stand for. And so that's, when we talk about an authentic life, that's really, staying true to these things because you've known the pain of not having them. And that's where this loyalty to the need comes from. It's also how you project yourself in the outer world. And what I realized is that what's at the top of the triangle really becomes your why. It's the thing that gets you out of bed. So in your case, Curt, that's wellness. So it's the thing that you might not ever articulate, to the public, but it's your personal why that gets you out of bed to create a sense of vitality. Physical wellness, I imagine that also covers, mental wellness in all the realms. And that's really your purpose. And I'm suggesting here too that it could ultimately be how your work benefits others. What you bring to the table is prosperity. So by achieving this personally, it's also the gift that you have to give to others. So in other words, let's define, as you did, prosperity of doing good in the world, but also receiving. So living in exchange, giving of what you do best and being rewarded accordingly, whether that's financially or from a sense of fulfillment, but living in this dynamic state of constant giving and receiving. And I'm just thinking about the platform that you've created. That's essentially what you're offering your, coaches and facilitators who are teaching as part of that platform, a way that they can focus on what they do and in turn live a prosperous life through their form of giving and receiving. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, we have a whole section on our website about collaboration.
Right.
And
Yeah.
what we're essentially doing is building a collective
Yeah.
of what we like to think are great teachers that are imparting skills to make us better humans.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. So it definitely speaks to that, and then actually that's a nice segue to the final piece, which is the how, and that's through family. And again, taking your broader definition of family and extending it even beyond that definition to encompass all the people that make up the family or the tribe that is connected within a professional. So not just with the people working behind the scenes, but the people who are on the website offering their products and services. So that's how you deliver prosperity, how they're delivering prosperity to their clients in turn. And with the overall higher purpose of making sure that all is well with the world. Yeah, so that's what the triangle has to say to us today. Yeah. That's what it's sharing.
And you're invited to be part of the family too, there, Janet. So this is symbolically our collaboration right here.
Yes, yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, that's collaboration in action, isn't it? Yeah. Well, what I found was, and I am totally informed by the pain of self-betrayal. So I've spent most of my life not doing what I was passionate about, and I had to spend time in that particular prison cell in order to really appreciate my newfound freedom. But through this process of analysing what we really need based on our want, it leads us indirectly into the cause of what stops us getting it. So that's the work that I do, and I love helping people in the same space, growth CEOs, really show up as their most effective selves without any risk of self-sabotage. So I see that these programs all seem to complement each other. That's the other thing too. So, Curt, before we wind up, I'd just like to ask you one more question. What's your final message to the CEO who is struggling with a bunch of issues, feeling alone, disempowered, maybe even thinking, can someone get me out of here? What do you say to that lonely guy or gal?
Yeah, I would say carve out some time for yourself somehow. If it's 5 minutes between a meeting, if it's a half hour a day, an hour a day, if it's, going on vacation for a couple of days, it's like shutting everything off and giving yourself time to hear yourself. And as you're out in the world and you notice some energy, I'll use the term resonance again, around a particular topic. Maybe it's an event, a subject, an idea. It's like we get these messages all the time intuitively, and what we have to learn how to do is listen to them. So, for me, when I first left the corporate world, I had this burning desire to go mountaineering in the Himalayas, right? And most people said, that's really crazy. Why do you want to do that? The people are you have a 1 in 100 chance of dying on a mountain there. And so why do you want to do that? And for me, it was really all about just, there was a burning, heartfelt desire, and I needed to go do that. And I needed to go carve out that space for myself, which then kind of led to kind of a cascade of other events that led me into a different direction, a direction that I needed to go. And so I kind of, in some respects, I call that the heart compass. When we feel something strongly, and especially when people say it's crazy, but we still feel it, I say go with that feeling.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's great advice and so important because, as a reformed workaholic, I know how that seemingly simple advice is so hard to take. But if you do, because the law of the wake up will decree that if you don't listen to that heartfelt self, you're going to get walloped around the head sooner or later anyway, aren't you? The messages are only going to get louder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Curt Dowdy, thank you so much for joining us on Wake the F Up.
Thank you, Janet. It's been great.
You have just listened to another enlightening episode of Wake the F Up with Janet Hogan. To find out more about the breakthrough, guided way to get off the hamster wheel and seize a life of freedom and fulfillment, visit janethogan.com/podcast for access to the show notes and to learn more about Janet's breakthrough work. Just remember, finding your true path isn't potluck, it's a process. Until next time.